Hi everybody, I'm Rockin Robin. Today I'm going to show you how to make lasagna with meat sauce. Now this is my recipe that I make for my family about, on average, I'd say once a month, and they absolutely love it. Now I'm going to be starting this off with a jar spaghetti sauce, and I'm going to show you how to do it, add a few simple ingredients, and make it taste homemade. It really is amazing what a few things that you can add can really change it up and give it some great flavor. So I'll show you how to do it right after this. So here's what we're going to need for our recipe. I've got a couple of jars here of spaghetti sauce, and if you care about what you put in your body, go ahead and read those labels. If you read this label here, it's got some, basically tomato puree. You can read all the ingredients. Diced tomatoes, there is some sugar, some canola oil, which I'm not crazy about, but that's okay. Garlic extract. I mean, they're words and foods that you know. All right, so check that out. We'll need some salt. I've got a couple of pounds of hamburger here, and over here I've got some mild Italian sausage. And I've taken it out of the casing, and we're going to go ahead and fry the two together. Now we've got some very diced yellow onion. I like to dice it really fine, as you know if you've seen my other videos. I'm a fan of that, and I like to caramelize them a little bit for some really nice flavor. And we're going to need just some red wine. Here I've got these are the leaves from some celery. So what you want to do here is just take your celery apart, get down to the leaves, and just use the leaves and chop them up really nice and fine. We'll need some olive oil and minced garlic. Here, this is what I think is really the big factor in making your jarred spaghetti sauce taste amazing, and that's adding fresh herbs. So here I've got a nice big bunch of fresh basil, and I'm going to chop that up. And over here I've got some fresh thyme, which I've already chopped up. And over here I've got some fresh parsley, and I've chopped that up. And I have about, I'd say a good half a cup of that. So you want to use plenty of those fresh herbs. It makes a huge difference. Now behind the parsley there, I've got some Parmesan cheese that's grated. We're going to sprinkle that on. And we'll need some ricotta cheese here. My husband doesn't like ricotta, so when I make my casserole, only half of it's going to contain that. I'm going to leave it off for him. And then we'll need some mozzarella cheese, and of course, our pasta noodles. Now what you want to do with the pasta noodles is I just cook these according to the package directions. And make sure you separate them. I have a couple pairs of tongs. When they're cooking, they want to stick together. I kind of separate them. And then I placed them in this dish. But before I did that, I brushed a little bit of olive oil on there to help keep the noodles from sticking to the pan. The first thing we want to do in preparing our sauce is to get your frying pan over medium-high heat, and we'll add about a good tablespoon or so of olive oil. And then we're going to start sauteing our onions. And we're going to cook these, and I'm going to stir them frequently for about 10 to 15 minutes. If you can go longer, definitely do it. So while I'm waiting for the onions to cook, I'm going to go ahead and add my sauce. And I'll turn the heat on to low to kind of get that up to temperature. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and chop up my basil. And I basically stack the leaves on top of each other and then roll it up and just make nice little slices. And you end up with these long ribbons, which I don't want, but it's nice and small, and I'm going to cut it in the other direction. Okay, so then I'll go this way, and all the pieces will be small, which is what I want for this. We'll place that all in there, and we're going to get the rest of the herbs in there. So here's the parsley. I know it looks like a lot, guys, but I tell you, it's going to make this sauce dynamite. And I'm going to go ahead and stir it in. And I'll be making more sauce than I'm going to be using just for the lasagna. So I like to do that. That way I have leftovers. I have plenty of sauce. And it just works out great. I like leftovers. And a lot of times what I do is I freeze my sauce and just pull it out whenever we want either pasta or lasagna or raviolis, whatever. Now I'm going to add the wine to the spaghetti sauce. Let's get that simmering. All right, so I let my onions go a good 15 minutes because I know that's where the good flavor is. Okay, so now I'm going to add the garlic to my mixture. Let this cook up for another 2 minutes, and then I'm going to place this mixture into the spaghetti sauce. Okay, so now that our onion mixture is done, I'm going to add it now back to the spaghetti sauce, and then we can start cooking up the ground beef and the sausage. Okay, so now I'm ready to go ahead and fry up the hamburger, so I'm just going to pour that into my pot and the sausage. And I'm going to cook this up until it's pretty done, and you want to break it up so that you don't have big chunks of meat in your lasagna. Okay, so you can see here that the ground beef is just about done. I'm going to add a little bit of salt to that. We haven't seasoned it at all. I'm going to go ahead and drain the grease. You can see there's a fair amount, especially from the sausage, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, now you probably noticed I changed pots because the other one was just a little too small. It was getting way too full, and once I add the meat, it's going to bring it up even higher. So I put it in a bigger pot so it has plenty of room. Now I'm going to add the meat to the pot and the celery leaves. Here we go with the leaves. And we'll give that a stir, mix everything up. And now we're going to let this simmer as long as we can. I mean, obviously, the longer it simmers, the better it's going to be. Look at how nice and thick that is. So you want to let it simmer for at least a half an hour, but if you can go an hour or two, wow, it's going to get even better and better as those flavors develop. So I'm going to go ahead and partially cover this and simmer for about a half an hour because tonight I got to get dinner on the table. Okay, so now we're ready to put the lasagna together. My sauce has been simmering now for, about 30 minutes. Not as long as I'd like, but it'll work. And I'm gonna go ahead and taste it because I just gotta. That is really, really good. All right, so I'm gonna take I have a 9x13 dish here, and I'm just gonna spread a little bit of olive oil on it so that the lasagna doesn't stick, just in case. And my oven, like I said, is preheating to 375 degrees, yes, and that's ready to go. Okay, enough with the olive oil. You want to get a little sauce down there first, whoops, so that you've got something for your noodles to sit on. All right, so now that we've got our sauce in there, nice little layer, I'm going to go ahead and start layering the lasagna noodles. Now, lucky for me, the noodle fits perfectly in my dish without having to trim it. No big deal. Even if you have to trim it, no big deal. Okay, so we'll place a slight overlap, and looks like I'm going to have about 4 there. There we go. Now, our next layer is the ricotta. Now, like I said, I'm only going to put this on half of my lasagna because my husband does not like it. The next thing we want to do is I'm going to place some cheese over the noodles. Nice little layer. Add a little Parmesan cheese. I'm going to sprinkle that over it. And we're going to repeat the layer. So now I'm going to go back to my sauce, my wonderful sauce, and just try and just put a nice little thin layer over that. It's a little more challenging this time. And we'll continue layering. Of course, after this layer goes the noodles again, then the cheese. And the last layer that we want to end up with is the cheese. So this is my last layer. I want to end with the meat and then the cheese. And I would suggest placing this whole dish on another cookie sheet or a baking sheet because it's likely to spill over, and you don't want to get in your oven making a huge mess, and you wouldn't be happy with me. Here's my covered baking sheet. I'll put a little foil on there so it's easy cleanup, and it's going in the oven for for 30 minutes. All right, everybody, I took the lasagna out of the oven. Remember, it was cooking with foil over it for 30 minutes, and then I took the foil off and cooked it an additional 10 minutes. Then what you want to do is make sure that you let it sit for a good 15 minutes before you cut into it. Otherwise, you know, it's going to run all over and be runny. So hopefully that 15 minutes will be enough. So we'll see. I'll try and get this out. All right, everybody, I hope you'll try this recipe. I think the key to the sauce, really, when you're using a jar sauce, is the fresh herbs. It really makes a difference. My father-in-law taught me that, and boy, I tell you, he was right. It really just transforms your dish. Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and leave me a comment. All right, that's it for today. We'll see you next time. Bye.